Volskaya first is certainly one of the points where you can make a defense like this work.
Uprising also have been one of the teams that have consistently forced, when possible, those hit scan setups. Consistently, they've tried to put those DPS heroes out, especially on assault maps.
And of course, it is quite a bit of damage out here. I think the main thing that they're going to have to worry about is just Panker getting into the back line. Just how do you pressure the Winston before, you know, an Ashe ends up in a very tough situation. But already, a bit of heavy pressure coming in here from the Uprising. It's going to be up, though, to the double hit scan to deal some pretty severe damage before Legion gets on the point.
Well, right now, it's just the slow rotation game for Legion before they move on to high ground, maybe even rotate, and then look for the setup. They're going to obviously be setting up the dive. For them, point presence is actually not as important. They're actually trying to catch one of the hit scan for Uprising here, or the back line.
And they're taking their time right now as well. Already about 45 seconds off the clock. Panker picks his target, goes up, drops down, and it's not actually that decisive. Down the half HP. Uprising actually completely okay here so far.
And now it's really just, when is the dive going to get value? Clouds picking up Blood. Right now, Hypnot getting water as well, asking pick and roll.
This is really good for the Uprising so far. Down goes Panker at the very end, and really quite good. Swimmer was able to keep people up in the back where they almost got an early pickoff, but even if they did, the resurrection is there, so Legion have to be significantly more decisive.
They do. It's a tough game to play as well versus the setup when you're not on Rhine. Because when you're on Rhine, you can sort of choose like, okay, we're going to pressure point and wait for their tanks and catch them. When you're on the Winston, you're trying to put a lot more pressure onto that backline, onto those DPS heroes for Uprising Academy if you're Legion. So now Legion have to they're making a sort of a split decision where they're pressuring point and also looking for dive.
Oh, Hypnot got a lot of cleave early and sets up Klaus for 2. The Winston sets the table. The Ashe puts it to bed at the very end. And again, decisive.
And when Legion are making all these rotations, I don't even think they need to be making all these rotations. They're on Winston. Why are they not going forward? Why haven't they swapped to the Genji or to Tracer? There's no Brigitte on the field for Uprising Academy. Now we see these swaps coming out for Legion. Dalton on Tracer, Water on that Genji. But you don't have to make these crazy long rotations to high ground. When you are literally playing mobile comps, you can take the high ground already.
You can. One thing that's going to be pretty rough here, though, is that, okay, you go old school Genji, Tracer, Dive, but Genji versus Ashe is not an easy matchup at least. Asking already finds Rolf early on, but this is going to be a lot of pressure onto Water.
I mean, the fight's already over. Yeah. Why are they committed?
I don't know.
Rolf is down. Fried is out of mech. The fight is done. It's done.
I mean, one thing that's worth noting here is that teams haven't exactly run a lot of GT Dive, Genji Tracer Dive in recent memory. I don't actually expect Legion to be super clean in their execution here. And again, I feel like Genji versus Ashe is not a matchup that people have really thoroughly done in a competitive context yet, but it's very tough for Water.
It is, and also something to note is that the Pride is going to be such an integral hero right now for Legion because him getting demeched means the 2 hit scan can run free essentially.
And even as is, so long as they're on different angles, he's not going to be able to cover both angles at once for this. It's going to be up to Dalton here on the offense to just find an early pickoff. In the Widow v Widow setup, Klaus under a lot of heavy pressure, but healed up all the same. Swimmer all over him with the Valkyrie, just pocketing Klaus, and Water's down.
Hypnot catching Water. We see the Widow duel still happening. Dalton going to win the Widow duel. However, Uprising are still in a great spot. Hypnot, he's on top of Wolf. He's going to pick up that frag. He's now going to come in on the Dalton.
Oh, good. The sound bearers come in just so you can get beaten up in the corner even more.
Just so you can actually catch the hands of Fury.
Just so you can simulate being a punching bag and then get electrocuted at the very end. Dalton is misery being prolonged. Now, that said, the barrier does allow Legion to be a little bit more healthy on the back end, but I don't know if this is enough.
The backline is still alive for Uprising. Yeah. The backline is still alive. Water, he's going to have this blade, but they pretty much have to commit. They have to commit the blade.
Blade in, slices Swimmer right up, and oh, taken down by Dino. Not having any of it. Not the most successful blade there for Water. Asking, back to fight, just needs to get 1 or 2 shots here. Well, take for Uprising to finish this out. And now they get to clean up onto the point, and that's going to be a hold.
That's going to be a first hold for Uprising. As Legion, they made the swaps a little too late, and even when before on their previous 3-3 with the Goats 3-3 with Winston, they weren't playing the comp properly. So they just wasted all this time before they got into the comp they were maybe more comfortable with, and they just couldn't find the frags they needed. They couldn't get value. They never were able to really functionally shut down the backline of Uprising.
And going into that as well, I mean, you gotta give credit. not only to Klaus and Asking for being pretty shut down the entire time, but also the Swimmer, where there's multiple times where you would look at the dive coming in, and you'd see Klaus or Asking or someone on Uprising get pretty low, aside from Swimmer, and Swimmer would just go in and just heal them up at the right nick of time. They'd just barely be able to walk out enough that the Mercy healing would be enough to keep them up. And Legion just was having an incredibly difficult time at actually securing early kills. And a good part of that is just the healing presence coming in from the Uprising.
Swimmer's one of those consistently good Lucios. He has, I mean, he's not one of those Lucios where oftentimes you're like, wow, this guy is like nuts or crazy. But he has a value I find more important on a main support where he is consistently good and consistently reliable. And being consistent, I think, is a more valuable trait on that main support role than it is where you get these crazy Reddit moves.
Well, also, I mean, consistency there, too, where just being able to play Mercy there, right, as well, where normally he's on Lucio back there on Mercy and, you know, just still having that in your back pocket. Because as we've seen from other players throughout history in OWL, not every player can go from Lucio to Mercy and make that swap work. Some good Lucios are actually not very good at Mercy.
Very true. So that's also an extremely valuable role swap right there for Uprising Academy for Swimmer. Now, Uprising moving out here on the offense, going to be running the standard 3-3, Hypnot on the Rhine. Legion not going to be using a hit scan comp their own, just going to be playing the 3-3 with Panker on Rhine.
And of course, Uprising, they don't have to do much here. They still have to get a tick. Technically, Legion can win the map by a very, very small margin. So, I mean, it's one upside to them. But Uprising, it's not a very long road here, and running 3-3, just have to be consistent and win one fight over the next 3.5 minutes.
They do. They've taken control of that mega pack room. Now we're going to be trying to look at pressure point, isolate someone from Legion.
Legion, on the other hand, has to be perfect. Panker, getting a bit of poke damage here early on. Bubble, invested. Uprising now, be a little bit more aggro if they want to be. Hypnot certainly looking that way. Water diving on a Hypnot. Hypnot going to fall. The heavy dive from Water working out.
Water getting that bash onto Hypnot while the bubble was on cooldown. Gets a lot of early damage, forces the bubble then in a very reactionary manner, but then Legion are able to clean up post-fight. So good defense so far from Legion. And also something to note, Dalton is very much ahead in that grab war.
So 2 minutes, 44 seconds left here for the attack in the Uprising. Legion, they've done the first step. See what more they can do.
Right now, it's going to be a game of Uprising know their win condition. So I don't think you should ever be looking to commit their ults until they have a very clear advantage in these fights. They can afford to just lose fights straight up when an ult is used from Legion.
Yeah, I mean, even if the end total is one fight and 5 lost fights, that's a map win here. So you're absolutely right, they can wait, but okay, they're going to transcend against this Graviton here, and again, I'm not sure that's the absolute right play. Legion in a good spot, Punk already out of the mech. Panker going to drop the hammer, and Klaus is out of it, and I don't think, to your point they were saying, Uprising didn't need to invest anything here.
They didn't have to invest anything. The only saving grace, I would say, for Uprising right now is that Legion invested every single ult on that fight. Every single ult. And now they're going to come into this next fight with Beat. They're going to have Bomb. They can be extremely aggressive with those two. They really shouldn't dry fight now because Legion will build up their own bank in return. This is their fight to commit.
And even if it's not the most stereotypical win, fight, engage, it's still, to your point, it's something that they have a big advantage in.
They do have a relatively synergistic combo there because throwing the bomb forward while beating allows you to just punish Panker. Just keep on fighting Panker and get that barrier out of the way so the bomb has value.
Uprising taking a lot of time to go in, but now they're going to drop the beat. Punk hitting onto a bomb all the while, but they isolate Panker very early on. So they get a little bit of value here for Uprising, and already man advantage, it's clean, everyone else still up, but they lose Asking! Legion, they rotate around, they isolate the Zarya midway through, Asking had grab, and now Water moving forward. Legion off of Dalton's grab, actually have the chance to bring this back, and this could be really grim for the Uprising, down to under a minute.
Because not only is it grim, but they use some ults in that fight. However, Uprising, they're coming back. They still have 4, almost 5 ults. They have time for the recontest. Legion, not nearly as much in the bank. They chased Water all the way around that mini pack room, and they lost the 2 players because of it. But they still committed too many ults for Legion now, because Uprising, they have that ult advantage.
Well, Uprising is going to be looking for a grab bomb, which means one thing that Punk, of course, has been very good at here so far has been going out of their way to go in. But take a look at Asking. He's going back here. Graviton ready. You have to look to Fried to get a grab eat.
Fried is going to be a real hero player right now.
Shatter can't come in here, just thrown into the abyss. Self-destruct moving in here from Punk to the back. The Graviton tried to set it up, but Legion still total okay. Banker builds up a Shatter mid-fight, waiting for the opportunity. Drops the hammer, knocks down 2. Is the cleanup gonna be there though? The Transcends was in for Uprising. Legion fighting tooth and nail
Legion
to win this. Water gets down Klaus.
Oh, wait.
Banker.
I might have cast her curse. I might have cast her curse because Hippon gets the charge kill, but Dalton, he's so high energy. He has another grab. The tempo fight for Legion is just so much better. They could bunny hop the support ults.
Legion
So
going the whole.
I cannot
and what
believe.
That means, the 33.9%
I
is
cannot
enough.
believe. This is incredible, ZP.
Unexpected to say the least. Given
And I didn't cast her curse it either. I called it right there because I knew as soon as they win that post fight from the bunny hop of the support ults and Dalton's still alive, I know they win.
All right. Well, this has been an interesting roller coaster of a game so far, is what I would say.
And now I can definitively say, watching that, Legion is probably right now playing a little bit better.
Yeah.
They're pretty evenly matched, but that hold right there, Uprising clearly was not playing as cleanly as Legion there in the 3-3 matchup. In return, they didn't get value out of their ults. They didn't really recognize their win condition or figure out, exactly how we're going to do it correctly. Because that fight where they were able to get that early pick on a Panker off the beat should have been the fight. Yeah. It should have been the fight. But they didn't go back to point. They decided to chase water around Mini, lose 2 in the chase. So right now, Legion looking a little bit cleaner for me.
Yeah, and I mean, also for Uprising, I think it's just a matter of knowing your win conditions, right? Knowing that, okay, the other team has thrown everything, including the kitchen sink. What do you have to do for a next fight where they do open that one of the last fights there with Beat when they had that advantage, but then they don't invest a bomb. They go, actually, we want to hold this bomb for Grav later on. And it's just weird all around where it's just not knowing that, hey, all we have to do is this, and we're going to have a good edge in the fight, and then you sort of half commit. Where, okay, you want to hold everything, that's fine, but just a lot of weird half committals and just not really clean gameplay, and it bites you in the end.
And you don't always, I mean, we talk about, taking those eco fights, taking those tempo fights where you're looking to get ults out of the defending team or whichever role you particularly be on. You don't always have to commit no ults, because sometimes you can have a great trade where you commit a support ult and get like 2 to 3 ults out of the enemy in return. And that's fine. But they didn't really, and the one fight they had where they had the clear ult advantage, they didn't invest them in the right order. They use the beat first, they catch a pick, and then they don't go to point to use their bomb. They chase around point. It's really that Legion are able to stick to this Deathball comp better. They're able to bunny hop their support ults a lot better, get more value so far out of their combos.
And also, I'd argue that Panker's probably been playing a bit better over the course of the series, where early on, I think he came in a bit slow, but multiple fights there where he's able to build up Shatter in the middle of the fight, get a good Shatter in the middle of it, keep them alive. So it's been a bit better for him where, again, I think his bread and butter historically has been Winston, but looking at him on the Reinhardt, ups and downs, but more ups as the series has gone on.
Now moving on to Rialto, Uprising. They're going to have to pick up this map if they want to equalize the series. Take it to that tiebreaker. Otherwise, it's going to be Legion getting that 3-1.
Now for Legion, you think back what happened on Control in the beginning where Uprising came out of the gate pretty strong. I feel like you certainly want to make sure you end this here on Rialto. You don't want to have the control map curse, so to speak, or as Elk would put it, the way that Fusion University always wins a series, where, the way he describes that, hey, look, all we have to do is make sure we just win one non-control map, and we win.
Very true. If you're always confident that you win control, then you just have to win one non-control. So that is technically true.
So we're getting into it. It's going to be Legion on the attack first. Uprising back here on the defense. Neither team looking to reinvent the wheel here on Rialto. Say that.
I find that unlikely.
I find it very unlikely as well.
I don't think Fried is, not that I doubt his fair playing abilities, but I just don't think that'll be playing fair.
Well, particularly where, beyond the fact that teams aren't really like go for long term, where he was just looking for an early boop.
Yeah, he's trying to get the boop off the high ground there very early. Very interesting strategy. I think that's pretty smart.
I mean, yeah, there's a chance he gets on the
water.
water.
Just turbo feeds. He set the feed drive to warp speed. The term I've used before, but he goes to the high ground where the team has already been booped, and then sits in front and takes 1,000,000 damage.
Not the greatest start here for Legion, I think is fair to say. About 30 seconds off the clock. Barry gonna be coming on in, looking for the isolation. Klaus almost falling. Fire Strike to the end, doing quite a bit. Panker now 52%, about double what Hypnot is at. As Legion get through the first choke.
Now with Legion just moving forward, still Uprising couldn't capitalize off the death of Luddy because, I mean, the spawn is right there. He's Lucio, he's a very fast hero. Legion taking this high ground. They're getting ready to do a sort of a sandwich engage here, try to move the cart and come forward.
Hypnot under a lot of focus fire here. Uprising getting poked down on all ends. Legion bullying here, and Klaus finally gonna fall, and it was just a much better engage where Uprising just kind of sat there and took it.
They did. I mean, that's sort of the value of getting that high ground if you're Legion. You can choose your fight, and when Uprising are playing more of the courtyard area rather than close to the ground, you can't split them. You can't, just sort of use your cooldowns more effectively because you take that early spam damage.
Well, also when you're off on the high ground there, you get a little bit of damage. Once you realize you have a poke advantage, you can move in, push the initiative, and Uprising didn't have the ability to really retreat effectively. Meanwhile, Panker gonna open up here with the Shatter. Gets down, Hypnot, and that's more than enough. Only person he gets to the ground, but if you're able to finish it, that is worth 6-on-4 now for the Legion, and this is looking pretty grim for the Uprising to bring back point A.
An incredibly good, very worth Shatter there for Panker, because not only does he get that early pickoff, they force Trance. Dino uses that Trance there. They're probably going to be able to get these cleanup kills onto Hypnot, the stagger, which will even help them even more.
This is a lot of momentum starting to be built up now for the Legion. Point A is theirs. A lot of time left on the time bank, and Uprising, right now you take a look at this. Is this their fight to bring back?
This should be their fight, considering that the Shadow, the rally was both used there. It's going to be on Klaus getting value from his own rally here, because remember, Legion, they have the combo and there's no... Oh my goodness, Asking just got catapulted.
Asking just got absolutely just thrown. Lucky not to be down, and now back to the fight. Drops the grab, Dalton's grab, Eden, Punk again smothering. That's a big play here from the Uprising. Punk coming in strong. I mean, really just devastating Dalton in all ways.
And what's crazy about
the grab and eats him.
Neither support ult had to be used by Uprising. They didn't use the rally to engage. They didn't use beat. Dino's about to have another Trance. Punk being the hero here again, denying Dalton's grab, denying the combo ability, and Asking also having a very good grab in his zone.
So Uprising back in the game here. Legion, though, heading back in themselves.
This fight should once again be Uprising, by the way, ZP. I mean, they have the rally, they have the double support ult on top of that. They should really just look to try to trade the bunny hop those ults.
Panker gonna be leading the way up the high ground. Earth Shatter in reserve. Like, sacrificing pretty much all his shield to just walk forward and go for the Shatter, and not really going to get anything out of it. Uprising just shrugging it off. I think Dino thought he was gonna get hit, so he transcended out of reaction. That actually could work out pretty okay for the Legion.
I think trading Shatter for Trance is a perfectly good trade.
Oh, speaking of Shadows, Hypnot gonna let his fly. Legion, though, again, total okay. They drop the barrier in reaction. Hypnot moving forward, finds water, and Uprising still able to turn the fight back to their advantage.
And right now, it's on Dalton to just get as much ult charge as possible, get that grab before Dino has Trance again. If they can get the grab first, especially considering Wolf has their own Trance, this is a free fight win, as long as they don't allow the tank line of Uprising to have a lot of value.
2 minutes, 25 seconds left. Uprising have bought themselves significant amounts of time. Here on point B here so far. If not, Shatter built up, moving forward. Legion on high ground, dropping down. Hypnot going for the crazy Shatter to start things out here.
Punk got
Dalton's down! Dalton got caught!
Oh, that's so big.
And Legion, they invest Transcendence to try and bring it back. They use it to take down Hypnot. 5-on-5, still winnable for the Legion.
Still winnable also because Uprising has no ults. They have 0 ults right now. Punk, he's getting focused. He's on that high ground. He's trying to sustain. Panker's shield health very, very low right now.
And Dalton has a grab in reserve, and again, as you mentioned, not a lot in reserve to deal with it. But as we say, that Dino able to build up the Transcendence, so now it's going to be potentially grab for Transcendence trade. Legion setting up here, heavy pressure on the Panker. They're going to back up, take a breather. He's about to get Shatter up. Graviton going to be invested here. Transcendence out from Dino for Uprising. So Uprising still okay. Transcendence keeping them alive. Heavy pressure back to Panker the other way. Panker shot into the sky, down as Uprising able to win the counter
Losing
engage.
Shatter there as well. Panker tries to Shatter, doesn't get anything, dies with it. And really, that's Legion. They really overcommitted for the grab. They went forward, used all their cooldowns to try to get some damage there, build their own ults. They get the Trance out of Dino, but they don't have any support ults. They have nothing to keep them alive post-fight. They used a lot.
Big play there. Rolf able to pick off Dino. Legion, they're going to be speeding forward here. They know they have the 6v5. They don't want to waste any time. They're heading forward. Both support ults in the bank. Uprising on the brink. Barrier invested super early. They need to get something off of this. And our screen right now freezing a little bit, so we can't entirely tell what's going on, but Hypnot moving forward. Earth Shatter connects off the other side. Uprising can still bring this back.
That split-second shatter gives Punk the value onto Panker. Panker's down. Uprising, they're going to clean up this fight. Still a little bit of a slideshow for us, but that's fine. Because it's Uprising winning the fight.
Actually, Women in Granite just froze a little bit longer on our side because then it looked like the Legion should have had that, right? They have the 6v5 break.
Well, early beat, though, from Bloody was the problem. We've seen this a lot now. When you have that combo up, which is exactly what Uprising Academy had, when Luddy drops that early beat, there's no extra barrier health to keep him alive, to keep Legion alive.
Not quite. Well, Uprising can be holding back here. Dino transcends reserve. It's a little bit of poke damage, but totally okay. Legion, after starting out so on point A, in a very rough spot now. Panker gonna get a little bit low here and take it down.
Early pick onto Panker, the bomb. No shield displacement going to be possible for Legion. Now post-fight looking a lot better for Uprising.
They're going to transcend with 4 left. The hammer going to connect. The transcend's still up, going to keep Legion a bit in the fight, but they're still down members, and it's so hard to bring 3-3 fights back in this situation. Uprising, what a defense here on point B.
And once again, I mean, these teams are just so evenly matched, on top of just making very sloppy mistakes, I would think, where we talked about that last fight. It really should have been Legion's fight, but that early beat, once again, coming out. Even if it was to save someone, there should never be a situation where you need to drop that beat so early unless you're guaranteeing the frag, because Uprising had the combo play. They didn't have the barriers up to keep them alive through Punk's bomb. So important there that you have those support ults up.
It is, and again, I think back to the entire theme that we've seen across both teams to a degree, but definitely more from Uprising as the series has progressed, is the entire element of just ulting early, where you don't need to do that to that extent, where particularly you look at Legion there, right, where what we see there, Lude decides to use the beat super early, and look, you can do that, but you have to be absolutely sure that you're going to get concrete value off it. If you drop beat early and then you don't get a fight-winning advantage, you've essentially lost the fight if the other team just uses ults directly in response to threats.
Yeah, because you don't have that support ult, you don't have the combo, you don't have it for when the other team is going to drop their own beat later in the fight. Just having it down and not getting value already puts you at a pretty big disadvantage.
Very much does, but Legion now going to have to put on a pretty good defense of their own. Uprising, they've set themselves up in a good spot here to even up the series 2-2.
Well, we've seen this before, though. We saw this on Volskaya, where they were in a great position as well. It's all about your ability to convert it.
Well, pressure definitely going to be on here for the Uprising. First part has been done, but we'll see if they can get in and do the second. And Legion actually giving up quite a bit of space here.
I mean, yeah, you have two options on those first defenses to hold close, get that early value. As Dalton gets asking, who is very far ahead of his team.
And as soon as they get the pick off, look at the change in tempo. Legion immediately drive forward, and Uprising, they want no part. They go back to spawn and they go, we're going to wait till we have 6.
Legion is going to keep holding this corner, though. They're not going to hold the bridge. They're going to keep fighting here using the cover. Trying to deny the high ground as well. You see that Dalton's up on high ground, along with Fried, just trying to get some early poke.
Legion for now, holding a bit back. Neither to the huge edge. Again, an early pickoff for Legion, and here they go. Once more, diving in. They try to punish Panker. Not going to happen. They get pretty low, though. Legion, early pickoffs have been working out very much in their favor, and Uprising already down a minute.
I mean, Uprising are taking far too much damage on these engages.
Oh, what a stagger. Well, look at this. Punk just says, let me out, and it takes a while.
They're just taking far too much damage on these entries. Far too much damage. You cannot be having this much value. Gone from the fire strikes, from the right clicks. And Legion getting those early picks. I mean, the fight's over before it begins.
Yeah, fire strikes in particular, again, you take a look. Swimmer just gets chunked on entry. There wasn't an extra fall through, but now, what have you done? You've fed Panker a bit here. Earth Shatter. Ready. Hypnot, Shatter on the other side, but Uprising being pretty tentative here. Time continuing to tick away. Hypnot, they have to bubble just to keep him alive. And Panker from downtown gonna drop the Shatter. Hypnot will not get out of that one.
Set up by that bash by Water, who is hiding on the high ground. Once the bubble's used, he can drop for free, get the bash. The rally is out for Legion, and that's gonna be another fight win. And it's still set up from the spam damage. The spam damage from Legion. They're just taking far too much, having to use those cooldowns so early for Uprising.
And it might be deja vu all over again. You rightly mentioned, of course, what just happened a map ago. And you take a look here. Uprising down to 1:45. They don't have to go a whole lot here on Rialto, but they're in danger of getting first point held.
And now Uprising trying to do this sandwich push again, sending the majority of their team high ground. You see Water, Fried, sitting there, trying to deny, look for bashes, as Punk just moves the cart forward slowly but surely.
If not, looking to go forward, trying to tag Panker with a bit of early damage. In fact, Panker pretty low. Wolf might have to transcend to keep this up here. Does transcend just in the nick of time. Fried self-destruct comes up at the same time, takes down 2. And the Legion able to counter ult there, keep themselves very much healthy in this fight.
And that's the value of continuing to hold the high ground there, because Fried is able to put a perfect Diva Bomb on the high ground above the grabs that have been traded. Get that value. And this is rough for Uprising, considering they use their own grab, they use their beat, Shatter. They have to get some value from the bomb. I would like, but really something to think about is that when they use an ult here to get around this corner for Uprising, the next fight, the recontest fight for Legion, will be even better.
And this is do or die now for the Uprising, down to the final minute. Every fight win must be perfect. They move in, they're trying to isolate Panker, a lot of pressure, but the barrier gonna save him here. Punk, the self-destruct to the sky, doesn't get what he's looking for. Legion still okay, Panker dropping the Shadow on the other side, doesn't get anything. Water, rally up, Legion fighting, Panker isolated and down. Uprising now with the 2-man advantage, but as you mentioned, the recontest fight is gonna be coming out here for the Legion.
With this point, that's just how it works.
They need not stagger.
But they're staggering.
Oh.
They are staggering though, so it will make it a bit harder since both Wolf and Dalton died late. It's possible to still recontest, but it'll be tough for Legion.
And remember that because Uprising doesn't have to go very far, this could very much shift where the game is at. Panker just getting chunked down here. Stealing gonna come in time. Armor pack just in the nick of time. Fried gonna be knocked to the ground. 2 meters, 29 seconds. Hit off! He's whip shot off! Water using the water, just drowning Hypnot where he stands. And now the Legion getting back into the fight. Shield up, Panker moving in, leading the way. Water right there with him. And the Uprising now on the verge of failing to get point A. They are in the hot seat. Emergency Hammond out. Fried blows that hamster, the kingdom come. And the Legion are looking like they've brought the series back, taken Rialto, and taken it all.
Swimmer has to live. Swimmer has to live.
He's
He has
still living.
97 PD.
He's still alive.
They haven't got him yet. He's going to go for the beat. He
Okay.
gets 4.
Punk goes for the self-destruct, buying a little bit of room here. This is more even, but Panker
That's a 3-man
drops
shatter.
the 3-hand shatter, moves forward. Even if you were to die there, I think it'd still be okay. Shield well placed by Dalton. High energy moving forward, looking to melt down Hypnot. Contest still in play here for Uprising, but not for much longer. The Graviton's going to seal the deal. And that is the Legion taking Rialto, where, I got to say, if you're the Uprising, this series haunts you.
This series should 100% haunt you. This series should be, I think, especially, I mean, Uprising will make playoffs,
Sure.
more likely than not. They're still an overall strong team, but you need to look at your ult usage. You need to look at your neutral fights even. Just your pure neutral fights in 3-3 and make some changes.
Well, also just your offensive engages in general, right? Where so many times on the offense where they had good defenses. They had defenses that in most series would be a map win, and then their offensive engagements were just bad. They couldn't deal with basic defensive setups coming in from the Legion.
No, definitely not. They were not in position. They were not equipped to deal with that at all. Legion's ult economy, their usage of ults was a lot better. Their neutral fights were better. They just had far too much value over pretty much every metric.
They did. Well, guys, that's going to be our first matchup done for the day. But, you know, we still got 3 matches left to go. It's going to be a lot of Overwatch here at Contenders North America. And we'll hope you'll join us as we take a quick break, but we'll be right back.